Hey everyone, this is Maregaal Ben Yaakov, and today is Sunday. Actually, I should be working, but I'm not. Anyway, I have to have a certain discussion today, and it really gets on my nerves with a lot of times. And today's teaching is actually going to be about the difference between faith and holiness or righteousness, and which is kind of similar, but not quite. and or uprightness. So holiness and righteousness or slash uprightness. Okay. And before we get started, please, if you don't mind, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And so my channel will grow and eventually I could get paid by YouTube and so forth like that. I'm trying to build it up and also trying to be a major influencer. And anyway, thank you for doing that, if you don't mind. And so today's lesson or teaching, I might be going all over the place, because I didn't write anything down, really. So I just kind of vegetate on this type of stuff when I'm carving my rock carvings. As you can see, hold on just a second. Let me get rid of this here. You can see, like this sunflower carving I did. I had to do a custom down here of this hawk and a sun down here and so forth like that. Anyway, this is all real rock, and there I am right there at Maregaal's Art Studio. Anyway, so today I want to talk about righteousness slash holiness and the difference of that between faith and faith alone, okay? And so it really has a major play on someone's life. It really does. And also how, of course, it's integrated with the Tanakh, or the so-called Old Testament. And if you watched my videos before, it's the so-called Old Testament. Only Christians call it the Old Testament, okay? For us Jewish people, it's alive, it's valid, and still holds sway today. And it's basically everything. Now, granted, in my last video about what happens when you die, that was my video, I put at the very end, I don't necessarily believe what the Bible teaches anymore. I was biblical orthodox, not rabbinical. Big difference. I was going by the book. I lived that way most of my life, okay? But I studied my way out of it because I saw big issues and contradictions and historical fact problems with the biblical text. And so I said, not for me, not real. I'm not going to believe in lies, because if El, the true God, that's his name, El, the true God of heaven, is genuine, he doesn't want you to believe in falsehood. I don't care if it's in a book or not. That doesn't concern me. El is concerned about truth, ultimate truth, and only about the truth, period, and that's it. So, and if something is in Scripture, and it's false, like the earth is in the center of the solar system, which Genesis promotes, actually, you can't believe that. Can't buy that. And it's amazing. It wasn't until like the 1600s that finally mankind started to pull out of that belief that the earth was in the center of the solar system, or the universe for that matter. They didn't know there was, for some, they didn't know there was a solar system, okay? Anyway, so you cannot believe just because it's in an old book and it has a religious tone to it that it's true at all, okay? So, anyway, my topic today is the difference between faith and holiness slash righteousness, okay? Now, every society, has a set of law codes. And those law codes determine, according to their code, what is right and wrong according to their society, okay? So what you find in the 10 sayings, now I have to rabbit hole for a minute. For us Jewish people, it is not the 10 commandments. It's actually the 10 sayings. And it might sound funny to you, people who never heard that before. It is because Christians, have taken our writings and basically rewritten them and put things where they shouldn't be put, like commas and periods and things like that. Anyway, so what they do, they take the second saying, which is, and what they cut it in half and put the first half with the saying of number 1. So it basically reads, I'm paraphrasing, and this is in the Christian Bible, by the way. It says, I am the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me or alongside me or besides me. and then it goes to number 2. You shall have no graven images, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not how the text reads, okay? Text actually reads, says, because L is making a point, okay? He's making a point, and you can see this point with the people coming out of Egypt, when they start building the golden calf, the way they say, I'm paraphrasing, as for this Moses who brought us out of Egypt, hello, it wasn't Moses who did it, it was the God of heaven that did it. And so what is statement number 1 is to reiterate that El himself is the one who did it. So it says, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. Period. End of story. That's it. Don't look to anybody else. Don't think of anybody else. It was me and me alone. Okay? And so, anyway, then it goes on. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make a graven image. This of silver and gold, this or that of wood, doesn't matter. And you could go on and on and on about certain things. Like throughout the Torah, it goes like this. Not part of the 10 Commandments, but it's part of the law of Moses. Now remember that according to the myth of the text, is El gave these 10 sayings out loud. Everybody was trembling. Oh man, I can't handle it. The earthquake and the big old tempest on top of the mountain. And Moses, you go up there and get the rest. I don't want to hear the, El anymore. Lest we die or something. So Moses went up. And he was up there for some time and came back with the rest of the law, plus with the 2 tablets. The 2 tablets had only the things El said out loud, and where the rest Moses told to all the people, and then he eventually pinned that down in a scroll. So, but the 10 out loud statements were put in stone. And so, but like if you go to a Christian church, God gave the law, the 10 Commandments, and it's like, yeah, you actually think that was it? That was the whole society, 10 Commandments? And then they go way off on some of their own rabbit trail. The whole law, every law is based on those 10 Commandments. No, it's not. No, it's not. And so, anyway, and the rest of the law, or the Torah, basically gives you a law code of how to run a society and a holy people, a righteous people. So, like if you go to California, I'm in Arkansas, so it doesn't matter. We have an Arkansas penal code, and that is basically the laws of the land of Arkansas. And we're different from California. California's a little different. Or if you go to Israel, they have modern day laws of Israel. And a lot of them are based on biblical law. In fact, many cultures who don't even know the Bible have similar laws. Just common sense. Don't kidnap anybody. people might kidnap people in other countries and even here, which they do. That doesn't mean it makes it right. So there's a law of do not kidnap, do not murder, do not steal, do not do this, do not use, like in Leviticus 19, it'll say use just weights and balances. And if you don't know what that means, it's like you see it in society everywhere you go, whether it's by liquid or dry weight or whatever. So give you an example. If you go to a store, I'm just delving into a rabbit hole for a minute, talk about law and the tidbits of the details, okay? If you go to a store and it says bananas weigh, let's say, 50 cents a pound, and it claims it's 3 pounds right there, you pay $1.50, right? Okay. But if their scales are wrong, like it's actually, when you put an actual 3 pounds on there, just hypothetically, you don't know that, but it's in reality, if you have a genuine, good, honest scale, it's 3 pounds, but you put it on this scale over here, it's showing 4. So you're paying $2 for 3 pounds. That's where you see the law in Leviticus. It says you shall have just weights and measures, okay? And so when you go on a freeway in America, you'll see these weigh stations, for 18-wheel trucks. You'll see it in the grocery store when you weigh your food. You'll see it at the gas station, so much gasoline is for so much money, okay? And so that is part of righteous living. You be fair and just. Now, religious law, like religious stuff, like no idols, observe the Sabbath, observe Passover, observe all these feasts. When you're unclean by being with your wife and you try to have a baby, you get unclean. And by doing that, when the seed of man, when it comes out of your body, you become unclean. And so those are religious laws, okay? And that helps you in Judaism, or the law of Moses. That is what makes you holy if you keep them according to what's said, okay? If you follow those things, I don't want to say strictly, but you follow them where you should, okay? Because it's not that hard. Now, you go to a Christian church, the law of Moses is impossible to observe, and that's why Jesus had to come. No, it's not impossible. As you know, Elijah went to heaven, so obviously it wasn't all that impossible. And so, anyway, that's the New Testament throwing their spin off on ours, and you can't do that. So, now when it comes to righteousness versus faith, I want to get to that. Faith goes like this. And I'll just say it, even though I really don't want to, but talk about the New Testament. But James even talks about this. It's basically the same teaching almost. So this is in the Epistle of James, but getting back to it, faith doesn't mean anything all that much. It's a foundation to walk a certain way. Like, I believe in one God, and that God's name is El. This is the God of Israel, where the very last 2 letters of Israel is the name of El. Or like you have, Ishmael. You have, like Elijah. The beginning of his name is El. Or Elisha, and things like that. But or Elimelech, you say El is king. That's what that means. So things like that. But me having faith that there is just one God, and that God's name is El, doesn't, it helps, but it doesn't give me an overall benefit. So where If this were the neighbor, he might be a polytheist. He believes in El, but he also believes in Apollo. He believes in Zeus and prays to Thor and this god over here and that god over there. He's believes in multi-gods. So the faith, just because you believe in El, doesn't mean all that much. It helps, first, with some stuff, but now you have to understand the difference between righteousness. And of course, I'll throw the theology in there for a brief minute, okay? The theology is El came down on Mount Sinai and gave one dude named Moses or Moshe a law code. And that helps you to be holy and righteous, okay? And they go one and the same, and they're intertwined, because you can't be holy without being righteous, and so forth. You have to be pretty much righteous first. You have to be an upright person, an outstanding person of society. And so how does righteousness apply? So, like, say for Christians, for example, and Paul, he'll say, you obtained righteousness without the doings of the law. He's making the law a religious thing. And the law of Moses is not a religious thing. It's not only a religious thing. See, when you have Sabbath and the feast and being unclean, you're washing, you're doing these rituals, that's the religious part. It's not the righteousness part, okay? Where that's just like me personally. And but when it comes to righteousness, that affects the people around me and animals and the earth, for that matter, everything. And so, like, say for example, cannot kidnap, cannot murder, cannot steal, cannot use unjust weights and balances, because that's stealing. And there's a difference in legal lingo, whether you're stealing when someone's there versus when they're not there. Where you scare the mess out of them, and threaten them. That's, burglary and robbery. There's a difference. And in American law, there's different judgment calls when that happens, or like armed robbery, things like that. So then is like, how do you treat your kids? Are you nurturing and loving, or are you just rude and crude? You're a drunkard and a druggie, and you don't care about them. You leave for days. That is not a righteous way to be. And so El, the only God in existence, wants you to be a righteous person. And because you're righteous, you'll get a good name for yourself. Like, say for example, you could be religious all day, go to church all day. I'll just use a Christian point of view. You go to church all day, pray, they're called sinner's prayer. Go every Sunday and Wednesday for the Bible study like this, and you believe that Jesus died for your sin, but you're a foul person. You are not righteous at all. You're still a foul person. You're like, oh, I believe in grace. Doesn't work like that in reality, okay? A holy God, let's pretend on the religious part a minute. It's taught in Judaism, or the biblical Old Testament, the Tanakh for us, that in the days to come, the Messiah will judge all people according to the very law El gave Moshe, because that will be the law of the king of his personal kingdom. And so he will judge all people according to that law. So it is just a rabbit trail for a minute. It is totally absurd for someone like Paul, the so-called apostle, saying Jesus is the Messiah and he did away with the law. I'm like, it totally flies in the face of Jewish scriptures or the Old Testament. So that he was a false apostle just by saying that. And we see, just use the New Testament again. If you look in Acts 21, James, the very brother of Jesus, who was head of the whole entire sect, he was in Jerusalem, and he and all those with them are still keeping the Torah, yet Paul isn't. And Paul lies to James, to make James thinks he's keeping the law, and he goes up to Jerusalem, or to the temple, and does, participates in this certain sacrifice that a few people were needed to fulfill. So anyway, Paul was a liar, and he admits to being a liar. Anyway, back to what I was saying. You have to, back on track, the Messiah is not going to let you into a holy kingdom if you yourself are corrupt and unholy and foul and evil and do things wrong. Okay, there is no grace there. There's not like, okay, hey, I'll overlook all that and just you come on in. It doesn't work that way. That's not reality. And how God set his laws up, that is how he set his rules up, that's how his standards are. He does not change, okay? So if you want to go into a Camaro club, don't show up with a Mustang, or vice versa. If you want to be in a Mustang club, don't show up in a Camaro or some Nissan mini truck, okay? You have to fulfill what you need to fulfill. So, and I want to say this about the law. So, because some people, in American society, it's mostly from churches, not from the synagogue crowd, but they'll say, well, the whole law is wrapped up in 2 commandments: love God and love your neighbor. Hey brother, it doesn't work that way. Rather, those 2 commandments are fulfilled when you do the others. Because you could say, hey brother, I love my neighbor, and pat yourself on the back, blah blah blah, yet you rob him, you mistreat him, you give him the bird or middle finger in the morning when he goes out to the curb to get his morning newspaper or mail, whatever, blah blah blah. You can't do that. Or like, you let your dog go manure in his yard, you don't pick it up. What kind of neighbor is that? Hey, just telling it like it is. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't pick up their dog's mess and just let the neighbor take care of it. Who cares? Well, you're foul. You're foul. You're just foul. And that's not a righteous thing to do. So be righteous, be upright. So the Mashiach, according to the belief, but this is the religious aspect. He is not going to allow an unholy, unrighteous person into his holy place. Okay? This is like a wedding ceremony. You're not going to allow like some guest come in, a hobo, stinks up the whole place. He's totally disheveled. Who's causing all this drama outside. You're not going to bring him in. You're not going to do that. And so it's the same way. El has a certain standard. He goes by that standard, and he's strict about that standard, and he wants all people to be strict about that standard. Now, in Jewish law, I read from Genesis through Deuteronomy many times. And so way back, somewhere around 1989, I wrote them all down, of every single law, that is, I found in the Torah. And I came up with like 900, and I'm guessing, because I lost the book. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was like 930 or more commandments. However, many of them are repetitious. Like, you must not make an idol. Okay, you could read that several times, in the Torah. So you could just knock about 10 of them off that, from like 930, drop it down to 920. Do not commit adultery. Okay, that's listed several times. You can knock the extras off. And so the rabbis later on claim, I can't confirm this because I didn't take the time to scratch out the duplicate ones, but they claim there are 613 commandments. But understand, even if I was now still religious, not all 613 commandments apply to me. Why? Because I'm not a woman and I don't menstruate. So all the commandments regarding childbirth and menstruating are null and void for me. So now mine, so far you drop that down to, like, let's say 590, something like that. I'm not a farmer anymore, so I don't have to worry about farming laws like you see in Leviticus, like do not crossbreed your plants, cross-pollinate, that is, do not crossbreed your animals and stuff like that. So those commandments don't apply to me. And so if I don't own a house, I don't have to see, like this right here. It says there's one commandment. I don't know if I'll list them all right here, but it says if you basically own a house, you have to put a fence on the edge of your roof so no one falls off. And so, but if I don't own a house, that doesn't apply to me. So things like that. So so righteousness, now when it comes to business, you don't have to tell people how you run your business and where you get your supplies and things like that. You be secretive about that, and that's fine. That's what business people do. Or if you're like a cook, you have a certain food product, you don't tell people your recipe. You just say, hey, that's not your business. That's a business secret, and that's how I get my money, because people like my product. Things like that. But you cannot, like, mistreat your workers, give them honest pay. Like, say, for example, nowadays they pay you every other week, the end of the week, or for some at the end of the month, which is really lame, where the biblical text says you shall pay each worker that very day, every single day. And so I like that. I like it better, So if I hired somebody to work for me as a landscaper, because I did landscaping in the past, I pay them literally at the end of the day. And it's just that easy. So those are laws that are really good. And there's so many of them, okay? And you have to go through. But if you want to know a big chunk of them, like all in one good reading, start with the 10 sayings in Exodus 20 and go to the end of chapter 24 of Exodus, and you'll find a good, I don't know, I didn't write them, I wrote them all down, but I didn't say this much is between this part. I didn't. So I'm guessing there might be 150, 200 there. And another big swath would be between Leviticus 18 to the end of Leviticus 20. And there you'll have a lot of sexual conduct commandments. And what I'm going to get into. It talks about homosexuality. It doesn't talk about lesbianism. It just talks about male and male. It's just kind of odd, I suppose, at that time, because it just doesn't mention it. I don't know. But it's not like it didn't happen. It happened. But it doesn't say, a woman cannot be with a woman. It doesn't say that, even though, all homosexuality is considered forbidden. But, you can't have relations with, it talks about foul stuff, like bestiality. Do not approach an animal. If you are a male, do not approach another male. Talks about that. What else? Do not approach a close relative. That's just foul. I mean, you know the drama of just Americana culture, because they do that. You know, like a brother will approach somebody's wife, or a wife will find that the brother is hotter, and they're just in close proximity. And just, you know how way things go in relationships are, like if two people are working in a business, you're just there all the time, you're around each other, so you know a lot of relationships start because you're just in close proximity, like school classmates to co-workers to church buddies to synagogue people. It's just the way it is. So you cannot be with a close relative. It just makes everything awkward. And so treat your animals right. And so there is quite a bit of laws that are also not in Scripture. And but those will also go with the list of making you a righteous person and upright, and defines what loving the neighbor even is. Like I said before, a lot of people here in the Western culture think, well, the whole law is wrapped up in these two, the whole law is fulfilled in these two commandments. I'm like, you're misthinking it, because it's not a mental game. It's actually doing particular stuff. So, then they'll throw some philosophy. Well, if I love my neighbor, I don't rob him, I don't molest him, I don't rape him. That's true. But if you don't know the other laws, you don't know how to rightly love your neighbor according to the laws of El himself. Okay? And so, give you an example. I mean, you could throw off in both ways. The commandment that's not in there, but it's, it says you shall not commit arson. It's nowhere in Scripture. But you know full well you just can't go up to someone's house and burn it down. Of course, the other guy will say, well, if you love your neighbor, you're not going to burn his house down. That is very true, but there's other stuff that you may not even be aware of. Like, say, for example, I don't know. It's hard to think of all these laws on the top of your head. You must not you must not have tattoos. Now, that's a self-inflicted thing. But like, if you're playing around with your neighbor, you just can't just slap them. Of course, you would not slap them if you love your neighbor. But I'm just trying to think. It's real hard to think of all these things on top of my head. Maybe I should have wrote them down. But nonetheless, I think you get my point, okay? You can't let... Okay, here's another one. It's more of a proactive versus the other way. A lot of stuff is do not mistreat your neighbor. The other one would be feed your neighbor if he's hungry. Give him shelter in some way, or warmth, if he needs it. I mean, there's a trust issue, so you just don't want to take in some stranger per se, that could rob you, kill you, molest your daughter, or whatever the case is, and devastate you. And you have to watch your back on that stuff. But you can't just also get in the face of somebody for no apparent reason, and you can't get angry for unjust causes. Like, I don't know, I can't give a like say, okay, let's use America for example. And this might burn a few people, because this happens to a few people, so I might be touching on some toes here, but nonetheless, you really can't say nothing. Okay, say you live in a nice neighborhood, okay, and all the houses are pretty dang nice. Well, one of the neighbors wants to paint his house some psychedelic colors, and it starts dropping the value of your neighborhood. Well, you could suggest that he paints it back or something more beautiful versus this ugly, nasty thing. But you really have no say, because it's not your property. And then you could maybe argue, well, he's not loving me. I'm like, he's not hurting you. He's hurting maybe your value, but it's his property. He's free to do what he wants. So you just have to deal with it. And so, same with cars. If he wants to paint his car some crazy style, you might have a preference problem with it, but it's not quote unquote sinful or unrighteous per se. So, other things would be like, which is unrighteous, you cannot expose your loved one's nudity, for example. You can't like say you're trigger happy with a camera, you just can't go into the bathroom while they're taking a shower. Oh man, I want just start clicking. You're just being foul. You can't do that type of stuff. You're not loving your family. That's be unrighteous and almost on the molestation level. But you see what I'm saying? But there's a difference between believing in something and doing something. So the scripture and all societies want you to be righteous and upright. Maybe not America doesn't care if you're like this staunch religious righteous person. They don't care about all that, but they don't want you to be breaking their particular laws. And a lot of the penal codes of whatever state you want to go in are pretty, or a lot of them are righteous. And avoids rudeness, for example. Like, I'm a landscaper, okay? I just had a standard never to start my lawn equipment, blowers, weed eaters, really early in the morning. In case someone is sleeping. I started at 9 o'clock. For my own property, I don't really care. Because I had land and stuff. But in California, where my property is real small, my neighbors practically on top of me. I mean, not totally on top of me, but like, see where I'm at right now with this shed right here behind me? That's probably like, I don't know, 30 feet. That's too close to be starting stuff at 7 a.m. And people are just waking up. It's just rude. So you cannot be rude. You cannot be rude and righteous at the same time. So, in other words, study these things, because you may not know what is offensive to others. And the biblical text, the Torah teaches how to be righteous and how to be holy. And also you can see what offends you. Okay, like if I used to have a note, was biblical orthodox. I used to carry a notebook on me all the time. And I would write little footnotes on there to, concerning things, what offended me, to maybe how I offend others, or if I saw somebody, because mostly that was the situation. If I saw somebody get offended over something, like, I don't know, say there's a lot of, this is a perfect aspect of showing what is rude. Okay, like here in America, they have these department stores. And there's tons of parking. Well, some days, like especially coming now during Thanksgiving and Christmas, Hanukkah is not so special here. But the parking lots get like totally full. And quick. And so department stores are just bustling with people. And people are coming in and out of their cars. And so here's some dude. You watch this. So there's like 2 spots near the front, and everybody is wanting them. Well, here's this clown. He pulls in. He parks right on the line itself, like right here, right on the line, and he doesn't go over here nor over there, so another person could park. He parks right on the line in the middle of his car. And so no one else could park there. Who cares? I don't care about you guys. You're just rude. And so that gives you a bad name. Oh, did you see Maregaal over there? That foul, wicked soul. Or If you're drunk all the time, you know, the thing is like a good business person has a good name. He goes in front. He's there on time. That's another thing. It's a pet peeve. If you get, okay, let's go over the Ten Commandments. A lot of people just don't understand them, what they're even talking about. Okay. Commandment number 3. It says something to the effect of do not use the Lord's name in vain, or do not swear unto do not swear to the Lord, whatever. Do not misuse the Lord's name in vain. So what in the world is that referring to? A lot of people will think that's referring to profanity, a curse word, and it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's basically, what it means is keeping your word. That's the main teaching there. But a lot of people will swear in the name of the Lord, I'll be there, I'll do this, I'll do that, I swear to God, I'll do this. That's what that's referring to. So if you dare bring the Lord involved in your swearing or in your oath making, like you do in American court, do you swear, tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God? And you say yes, yeah, then you better not lie. That's what that's referring to, okay? So that goes for vows, like when you have a wedding and you vow in the name of, the Lord, I'll be honest, I'll be monogamous, I have one female, blah, blah, blah. That's what that's referring to. So don't make those types of things if you do not plan to keep your word, okay? So in the same aspect, a person, like say for me, a business guy, and there's plenty of businesses around, and solo, like self-employed people with no other people working for them. If you say you're going to be there at 5 o'clock p.m., you better be sure you get there before 5 o'clock p.m. or right on the nose, not a minute after, because people get irritated, and that gives you a bad name. Oh, I showed up late, half hour late, this, whatever. In fact, I was just hearing a story yesterday somewhere. Guess it was on TV or something. But it's this famous guy, YouTuber, influencer, how he bought some real estate and he hired a contractor, and he says, well, it'll cost like $5,000 to do whatever. And so what happens, he puts like half down, $2,500. So he goes over there one little time, checks out whatever, and then he never shows up again. And so he was a thief. He robbed him through manipulation. And, you can't be a manipulator. And I'll be frank, there's a lot of people manipulating others. And for me being a victim of all that, it happened through women all the time. Giving them, this and this and that. And they just lie, giving me this pity party about something, and me feeling sorry, I'd help them out financially to, with something. And the money never even went to that, because the truth was I wasn't there to see if it was true or not. I just took it for granted they were telling the truth, because you just want to trust people. And they lied, and so you just get ripped off and financially drained. And so you have to set a standard. Okay, they're done. You lied to me, I'm not going to deal with this person no more. Even if it's a relative, you have to drop these types of people. They're foul, and you cannot be foul. You have to be honest. You cannot manipulate people, cannot rob people. So don't approach someone else's wife at all. A lot of people do that. It's just a game to them. Stop being a foul person. Be a righteous person. Support couples, And if the couple is, if one person is abusive, tell the other person you need to get out of there. Because people don't change. I mean, you could play all day, they need to go to therapy. The majority of the time, they don't change, So set your standards high too, set them very, very high. And like, if they don't work, have nothing to do with them. If they don't have a house, You know, it's like it's one thing if they live with the parents, you know, I mean, they move in. But if they don't have a house, don't have a job, don't have a car, don't deal with them. Especially when they're older. I said, dude, they're mature. They need to get off their back end and hustle. Get a job. You know, you don't have to be, you know, get an education, do the formal way. You know, go, you know, graduate from high school, get a degree, and get a great job, blah, blah, blah. You know, because a lot of hustlers are a lot more richer than the people who got the degrees, okay? So, but you don't want somebody who's laying around, and because what's going to happen is you're going to be their banker, you're going to be their taxi, and you're going to be their hotel. And that's what happens. And so forget all that. Save yourself a lot of pain and trouble. Trust me, I've went through the hell myself several times. And so, and also when it comes to, you know, you'll see the whatever termites coming out of the woodwork they see when like your mom or dad will die, you know, because all of a sudden these people who don't even come around at all of a sudden will come around when there's inheritance to be potentially gotten, you know, something for free. You know, I hate those people. You know, I need something for free, or they manipulate. Oh, they suddenly show you up. Where's my cut? And I'm like, where were you this whole time? You know, and so, you know, especially when it's not even a direct family member. You know, it's like I had experiences where the wife, the brother was the one who's getting the inheritance to split it up with the sister, and then the wife of the brother part half was trying on all this stuff, and I was just like, bro, you know, it's none of your business. The property, all of it split 50-50. Why are you even touching someone else's stuff? You can't do that. So you cannot be foul. That is a serious foulness right there. You know, you cannot do that. So, but some of these things, like I just said about like inheritance, is just not written. You know, is just not written. You just learn it along the way. And so find out what is righteous besides what is in the biblical text, and not just the Torah, throughout. You know, why is the Lord so angry at the Judeans in Israel? It's not just because of you know, idol worship. You know, they were committing adultery. They were not honoring the vows of their neighbor. They were always trying to seduce some maybe gorgeous woman or some woman they found attractive. And it's like, dude, you cannot even approach that. Don't even go there. Like, if you see some dude with a girlfriend, don't be a foul person. Just try for the sake of trying. You know, that's just wicked. You know, there's plenty of people around, plenty of girls around. So that's my gripe. And you have to, so faith means a little bit, very, very, very little bit, but is the righteous and holy living that gets you far and gives you the blessed, you know, if you want to put it in a different modern way, you know, gives you the blessed karma, you know, and it goes well with your neighbors. Oh, he's a great guy. He's nice and sincere. He always helps people. He's right on time. He keeps his word. You want to be that person. You want to be that person. Don't be the person who's just dragged their feet up, go to work and blah, blah, blah. Don't be that person. You know, you'll never get ahead. You'll just be a bum, you know. Don't be a bum. And, you know, work hard with your hands. Study hard or study a trade. Do something to help the society around you, yourself, and things like that. Okay? This is, again, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And know those laws, you know. But anyway, that's it for today. I appreciate you.